The story begins at the king's palace. Prince Saryu cannot believe what is happening. He has been single until the age of 25. People mocked him as the winter bear, yet now a cute girl is standing before him as his bride. The thought makes him wonder if he can keep his composure. He questions whether he is good enough to be her partner. He realizes that life with her will bring both joy and embarrassment. The bride looks up at him with gentle eyes and asks what is wrong. Saryu stares at her, overwhelmed by how cute she looks. Her silky silver hair and smooth skin leave him stunned. He cannot believe that a girl like her is now his wife. She worries that his expression means her appearance bothers him. He quickly denies it and admits the truth. She is simply too cute, and he feels that someone like him does not deserve her. His thoughts tumble over one another. He does not know where to begin, and his calm starts to fall apart. Queen Tidros then reminds him that today is the engagement ceremony. From now until the wedding, which will be held in half a year, they will be living together. She warns him not to engage in any inappropriate behavior. Saryu panics inwardly, wondering if his sanity can survive that long. 3 months earlier, Saryu was traveling with his mother. She tells him they are almost there, and he replies politely. However, he knows her real purpose is not only to attend the crown prince's engagement ceremony in the Luminous Kingdom, but also to arrange his own marriage. He senses something is wrong. She intends to put him forward instead of the crown prince. At 25, still without a fiancé, he is considered unusual. The reason is simple. He is not popular. His eldest brother, Leonius L. Tidros, is the crown prince. His second brother, Michaela L. Tidros, married abroad and is admired for his beauty and graceful looks, which resemble their mother. Saryu, in contrast, takes after their rugged father, King Tidros. As the third son, he spends his winters on the frontier with the Night Order, crushing bandits and rebels. This earns him the nickname Winter Bear of Tidros. Back then, Saryu often skipped shaving, and being called a bear felt unfair. Because of this nickname, people in the capital saw him as scurry, dirty, or unpleasant. Every arranged meeting ended in failure. He sighs, thinking it would be fine to stay single for the rest of his life. He only wishes to end things quietly and go home. Suddenly, chaos breaks out. The crown prince of the Luminous Kingdom, Arios, declares that the engagement is cancelled. Saryu is stunned, wondering what Arios is thinking. Beside Arios stands Male, a man from a wealthy baron family. He is known to be the prince's lover, and is practically treated as a public mistress. The official fiancée is Satone Baramoa, her face hidden behind a veil. At first glance, she looks like a moving white cocoon. It is said she has lived with Arios for 2 years before the ceremony, so being treated so cruelly by her own fiancé must be unbearable. Arios raises his voice and claims the decision was made because Satone committed repeated inhuman acts against his beloved Male. He insists that Male tried to speak to her many times, but was ignored. Saryu thinks to himself that it is natural that a baron's daughter cannot freely speak to royalty. Sometimes, silence is the only option. Even during tea parties, Arios accuses Satone of deliberately leaving Male out and treating him like an outcast. Saryu notes inwardly that there is no way a baron's child could even participate properly in royal gatherings. To him, these two seem ignorant of how high society truly works. Arios then claims that Male was even bumped into on the dance floor. Saryu frowns, wondering if it was not the other way around, and that Satone may have been the one who was pushed. The guests watch the crown prince with cold eyes while Lady Satone silently endures the unreasonable accusations. Saryu wonders if she has simply given up, believing there is no point in defending herself anymore. Suddenly, Queen Tidros calls out to Saryu and asks if he has a lover. Startled, he smiles awkwardly and admits that he does not. The queen calmly declares that in that case they should take the young lady. Saryu freezes in shock, stunned by how casually his mother decides such a serious matter, as if she were wrapping a gift. Arios grows furious and lashes out, claiming that someone with such an ugly heart could never be his wife. Saryu mutters in disbelief, wondering if Arios is still clinging to the same nonsense. Arios smirks arrogantly, repeating that someone with her appearance could never be his wife, that they were never suited for each other. Saryu clenches his jaw and demands to know what Arios thinks he is doing, insulting a woman in public. He firmly tells him to take those words back. Arios stares in shock as Saryu declares that even though he is the crown prince of another country, such an insult cannot be ignored. The crowd rises in agreement, shouting that Arios should take his words back. Satone gasps in confusion and softly whispers, "Atsuto." Saryu hears the unfamiliar name and stiffens at the sound. Arios repeats the name Atsuto in his mind, finding it strange and wondering what language it comes from. He reminds himself that this should be the first time he has ever met her. Suddenly, Arios raises his voice and declares that no matter what anyone says, the engagement is cancelled. This causes King Noi to step forward and scold his son for being a fool. Arios looks at his father in confusion. King Noi then turns to Lord Baramoa and apologizes deeply. However, Lord Baramoa, still stern, replies that there is no need for apologies. He firmly states that he will take his foolish daughter, Satone, back with him to the kingdom of Tanya. Saryu realizes that the strict man is Satone's father. He remembers that the kingdom of Tanya is rich in minerals and worries that breaking this engagement will cause a huge loss. He can see that King Noi wants to avoid that at all costs, but with the crown prince acting so recklessly, the situation only grows worse. That is when Queen Tidros steps forward. She politely asks King Noi and Lord Baramoa if she may speak. Saryu is surprised as his mother gently leads him through the crowd. King Noi greets her in surprise. Queen Tidros mentions that she last met him at an evening party in the Caravan Kingdom. Lord Baramoa humbly replies that he is honored to be addressed by her. With calm grace, Queen Tidros turns to King Noi and asks if the engagement is truly being broken off. King Noi quickly shakes his head, saying it is not. However, Lord Baramoa insists that it is fine. He will take his foolish daughter home regardless. Saryu groans inwardly, knowing his mother always forces things into clear choices. He watches as Queen Tidros places a hand on her chest and says she feels sorry for the young lady, calling the way she was treated shameful. Saryu panics inside, thinking that if he had stayed silent earlier, he might have been in trouble himself. Remaining calm, Queen Tidros praises the bride for keeping her composure. She says it is exactly what she would expect from a young woman raised to be a crown princess. She then turns to the veiled girl and asks if she can speak the language of Tidros. The girl replies softly that she is still inexperienced, but knows enough for daily conversation. Queen Tidros compliments her modesty and clear pronunciation. She adds that learning languages for negotiation is important for royalty. Nearby, Male frowns and asks what they are talking about, but Arios brushes him off and pulls him closer by the clothes. Saryu mutters in frustration, wondering why his mother is asking such questions. While Arios continues to cling to Male and repeat his accusations, Saryu silently wonders what his mother is planning. Queen Tidros continues speaking gracefully, then suddenly suggests that perhaps Lord Baramoa should consider letting his daughter become her own foolish son's companion. The entire hall freezes. Saryu nearly screams inside. A daughter trained to be a crown princess. Matched with him? The third son known for failing every matchmaking attempt? He feels completely unworthy and wonders if his mother sees him through some strange filter that makes him seem far better than he truly is. Lord Baramoa says her words are too kind. However, as a vassal of the King of Tanya, he must first ask his king's wishes before giving a formal reply. Queen Tidros agrees. She adds that, speaking not as royalty but as a parent, she would rather trust her daughter to the prince who defended her honor. At that moment, Saryu steps forward. He explains that he does not resemble his mother or brothers, that he spent most of his life with the Night Order, and that he is not good at dealing with women. Above all, he is the third son, holding only the title of Duke, with little influence. He admits that he is not clever enough to manage court politics. Queen Tidros silently wonders if her son is ruining a rare opportunity. But Saryu stands firm. He says no one should make the choice for the young lady. Even if she rejects him, it will not hurt him. He only wants her wishes to be respected. Lord Baramoa turns to him and says that Saryu's nickname, the man with the losing streak in matchmaking, is known even in Tanya. Saryu is shocked, having thought it was private. Lord Baramoa then calls him the Winter Bear of Tidros and thanks him for standing up for his daughter during the ceremony. Male sneers and mockingly calls him Bear San. 2 months later, a formal letter arrives from the Kingdom of Tanya. Saryu expects it to be a rejection, but Queen Tidros is delighted and declares it wonderful news. Preparations for a new engagement ceremony begin at once. Saryu's strict attendant, Ra, drills him endlessly. He tells him to walk faster, move 3 steps to the right, and repeat it again and again. After hearing it so many times, Saryu feels like his ears might fall off. Finally, the day of the ceremony arrives, even though Saryu has never seen Satone's face before. Ra mutters that they are lucky the crown prince of the Luminous Kingdom was foolish. He explains that Satone Baramoa is 20 years old and comes from a family with royal blood in the Kingdom of Tanya. 2 years ago, she came to the Luminous Kingdom for bridal training, but the prince disliked her appearance, so they never grew close. Ra warns Saryu not to expect much from her looks. Saryu sighs, thinking Ra is rude, but admits that she probably does not expect much from his appearance either. That is, until her veil is lifted. Saryu is so shocked that he nearly falls over. He quickly turns his face away. When Satone's face is revealed, he mutters to himself not to mess this up. She places a hand on her chest, worried, and gently asks if he's all right. Saryu wonders where the ugliness he had heard about could possibly be. He realizes that she is actually incredibly beautiful, and that thought makes him panic. He cannot understand what someone like him is supposed to do with someone so lovely. He tries to calm himself as Ra quietly reminds him not to keep his fiancée waiting. Saryu steps closer to Satone, intending to kiss her forehead, but he stumbles over his words. He admits that he is panicking because she is simply too cute. He says he feels unworthy of her and does not even know where to begin. Finally, he excuses himself. She replies softly. His thoughts spin wildly. Her beauty feels overwhelming, her innocent cuteness almost dangerous, and her very presence feels sinful. He compares her to a small animal, like a snowy rabbit or a white marten, with big round eyes and soft fur. Just the thought of touching her skin makes him so nervous that he tells himself to banish all impure thoughts. Standing beside her, Saryu desperately wonders whether his sanity will survive the 6 months leading up to the wedding. That night, the engagement ceremony somehow ends without incident. Later, Ra sits with Saryu, wiping his eyes. Saryu asks why he is crying, but Ra insists he is not crying. He is just happy that his captain is finally engaged. Ra, who is nearly 30, was raised alongside Saryu like a brother and serves as vice captain of the Night Order. Though he is fairly popular, he often said he could not imagine getting married while leaving his captain behind. Now that Saryu is engaged, Ra feels free to marry without guilt. For years, Ra teased Saryu, saying he could not get a girlfriend because of his terrible clothes and hairstyle. Now he sheepishly apologizes for it. Saryu mutters terrible under his breath, then sighs and says he needs to think about what comes next. Earlier, his older brother had given him a stern warning not to make any mistakes. He reminded Saryu that after the engagement ceremony, they must live together, and that this was a direct order from the king of Tanya. Because of the broken engagement in the past, it would be disastrous if the bride were to become pregnant before receiving royal blessings. Saryu protests that his brother worries too much and asks how many times he plans to repeat the warning. His brother only responds with a smug smile. At the dinner party, his brother teases him, saying Saryu spent the entire time with a face that clearly said, "My wife is so cute." He then adds that Satone apparently bears a dragon mark, so Saryu will need to be even more careful. Saryu recalls that the Kingdom of Tanya is also known as the Dragon Country, a land whose very foundation is tied to dragons. Within the royal family, only a rare few are born with scale-like tattoos known as dragon marks. To marry someone who carries such a mark is considered a great honor. Their conversation is interrupted when a butler enters and announces that word has just arrived. Lord Vandal will be visiting tomorrow. Saryu shouts in surprise, saying it is too sudden. The butler calmly explains that Lord Vandal wishes to congratulate his best friend on his engagement as soon as possible. Saryu mutters that the man must be imagining him panicking and enjoying it. He adds that he must inform Lady Satone as well. The butler warns him that it should be only a short greeting, no more than 15 minutes, and that if it goes longer, he will barge into the room. Saryu snaps at him to be quiet, though he admits that entering a lady's bedroom makes him nervous. From inside, Satone's calm voice responds, asking him to please come in. Satone thanks Saryu for his hard work earlier, addressing him with polite respect. Saryu flusters and explains that he only came to say goodnight. Satone tilts her head and wonders if she should have gone to see him instead. He quickly waves his hands, insisting that is not the case. After calming himself, he tells her that a friend will be visiting tomorrow and asks if she would be willing to meet him. Satone smiles gently and says it would be an honor. Saryu then adds that if there is ever anything inconvenient about the mansion, she should tell him and he will take care of it. Satone replies softly that everyone has been very kind to her, and even Eaton is grateful. Saryu freezes at the mention of Eaton's name, remembering how she cried during the engagement ceremony. Eaton had wept with joy, saying she was happy for her lady. He also recalls hearing from the head maid that Satone's treatment at her previous residence had been cruel. Her meals were small, her clothes and laundry were damaged, and even her personal belongings were broken. She endured this mistreatment for 2 long years, yet now she shows no sign of pain. The maids whisper that their lady has finally found happiness. Saryu, however, thinks that he dislikes forcing sympathy on someone who hides their wounds and being told that they must be suffering. Satone then lowers her gaze and thanks him sincerely. She says that not only did he save her during the engagement ceremony with Prince Arios, but he also asked her to become his consort. Saryu panics and mutters that if anyone should be grateful, it should be him. He says he is only a prince in name, nothing more than a bear-like man. Satone watches him gently and apologizes, saying she had suspected as much. She looks at him with warm eyes and says that he is exactly the person she imagined, that he truly has not changed at all. Saryu thinks to himself that she says he has not changed, but wonders if they have met before. He questions whether it's really all right for him to be the one. Then he admits aloud that he is satisfied, or rather, that she is far too good for him. Noticing the time, he panics, thinking Ra will scold him, and decides he should excuse himself soon. Before he leaves, Satone quietly asks if the dragon mark bothers him. Saryu knows that saying it does not bother him at all would be a lie, but he insists that it is not important enough to matter. When she asks if he wants to see it, he immediately says no. She gently presses, asking if he finds it disgusting. He answers firmly that he does not. He explains that while its appearance may be striking, calling something disgusting when it is cherished by another country is unthinkable. He remembers how some men sneered and called it revolting, and the memory makes him clench his teeth in anger. He tells himself that he must show her he is different. In the kingdom of Tanya, dragons are central to their history, and those who bear dragon marks are deeply respected. Determined not to hurt her, Saryu puts on the kindest smile he can manage and gently asks, "Miss Satone, would you show me the mark? Only if you feel calm." She blushes and looks at him, asking softly if he truly wants to see it. His sudden request makes her wonder if he said something strange. She admits that she would like to show him, but says she is not yet mentally prepared. Saryu panics inwardly, realizing the mark is near her chest. He thinks that if she reveals it now, it will only end in disaster. He apologizes to himself, knowing the situation is dangerous. Satone lowers her gaze and says that if the prince truly insists, then she will comply. She shyly asks if he would like to see it. At that moment, Saryu's nerves completely collapse. He blurts out that he cannot do this after all and quickly excuses himself, saying he will see her tomorrow. His face burns red as he leaves. The butler, confused, asks what the captain was doing. Satone quietly answers that it was just a misunderstanding. Outside, another man arrives and looks toward the castle with interest. This man is Vandal. With a knowing smile, he remarks that she must be the woman who captured his dear friend's heart. He adds that he is looking forward to meeting her. Meanwhile, Saryu moves quickly through the palace corridors, pulling on his gloves as the butler informs him that the visitor has arrived on time and is waiting in the guest room. The butler notes how unusual such punctuality is, given the palace's normally relaxed pace. A livelier mood fills the room as Saryu's so-called best friend finally arrives. The butler confirms the guest's presence once more, and Saryu expresses surprise at the timing. After thanking the guest for his patience, the butler announces Saryu's entrance. Vandal, Saryu's friend from their military academy days, greets him with a wide grin and says he has been waiting. Saryu raises an eyebrow at being called a friend, but before he can object, Vandal suddenly hugs him tightly from behind. Saryu groans and shoves him away, calling him an idiot. Vandal only laughs, saying Saryu has not changed at all. With his usual energy, he jokes that Saryu married first after all, adding that life never goes as planned. Saryu replies that Vandal always avoided marriage anyway. As Saryu meets Vandal's gaze, memories of their academy days return. Vandal was famous for his striking looks and flashy fighting style. Despite his popularity, he remained single by refusing every matchmaking attempt. Younger students had once admired the so-called vampire count from afar, both impressed and intimidated by his daring duels and unpredictable nature. The mood turns playful when Vandal presents a wedding gift. He admits sheepishly that he could not decide what to buy and picks something at random. When Saryu asks what it is, Vandal answers dramatically, "A whale." Saryu stares at him in confusion and asks whether giving whale bones is a common engagement gift. Vandal admits he has no idea. Maybe it is a custom from Saryu's country. Unable to make sense of it, Saryu can only sigh at Vandal's strange habits. Curious, Vandal asks how Saryu's day went. Saryu explains that most of it was spent escorting his second brother on a visit to his in-laws. Vandal teases him, joking that it must be hard to leave bed after getting engaged. Saryu replies that he is forbidden from touching his bride until the royal wedding parade. Vandal rolls his eyes at the strict rule and suggests they spar instead. Before that happens, Saryu shifts the conversation to the growing problems in the caravan-allied kingdom. He mentions that mining exports have stopped. Vandal's playful mood fades, and he becomes serious. He explains that the king of Tanya is furious over an insult made by the luminous crown prince toward a girl with a dragon mark. Although other sources of coal and ore exist, Tanya's minerals were meant for the 5 allied kingdoms. Now, relations are strained. King Noi still holds power. Tower But there is talk of removing him. The crown prince remains confined to his castle under house arrest, though Vandal believes the punishment will not last long. Vandal then asks about the princess. Saryu explains that the head butler is calling for her, but that he wanted a moment alone with Vandal first, just in case. Vandal looks eager to meet her, but as he stands, exhaustion suddenly hits him and he nearly collapses. Startled, Saryu rushes to support him. Vandal quickly reassures him with a tired smile, saying the long ride was worth it just to congratulate his friend. With a grin, he adds that Saryu had better behave or he might end up confusing his bride. At that moment, Satone Baramoa enters the room with calm, graceful composure. Saryu stiffens, flustered, and hurriedly tries to explain that the situation is not what it looks like. Vandal only makes it worse. With dramatic flair, he drops to one knee and introduces himself as Vandal Sheen, asking Satone to remember his name. Despite his irritation, Saryu cannot help but silently admit that Vandal's face is annoyingly handsome. Satone politely introduces herself as well, her voice gentle and composed, and asks that everyone treat her kindly. Saryu privately finds her adorable. He remembers her simple breakfast dress, yet thinks her current outfit is even more beautiful. Everything about her matches his tastes, and he wishes he could see her smile, even though she shares her warmth with Vandal too. Seeing her, Vandal perks up again and declares that he now understands why Saryu fell for her so quickly. To everyone's surprise, Satone calmly says that she was the one who fell for Saryu first. The atmosphere softens further as tea, cakes, and snacks are brought in. Satone's eyes are drawn to a strange bone placed among the treats. When Saryu wonders aloud if it is a whale bone, Satone explains calmly that it is said to be the skeleton of a fisherman, a story she learned from her tutor in Tanya. Both men react in shock, but Vandal is impressed by her knowledge. He recalls how such skeleton fisherman tales were once popular and is glad she seems to enjoy the odd gift. Vandal compliments Satone's dress and she thanks him politely. Saryu watches, feeling awkward and wishing he had spoken first. He admires her radiant skin and graceful figure in the festive clothing. At last, he gathers his courage and tells her that she looks lovely. He realizes that even clumsy words matter when they are sincere, and that Vandal's open praise reminded him of that. Noticing Satone's slight fatigue, Saryu asks if she is feeling well. She replies that she is only a little tired. Vandal admits that the current state of the country has been exhausting for him as well. Satone then politely asks for permission to speak. When it is granted, she quietly observes the paleness of Lord Vandal's face and suggests that he may be suffering from anemia. The comment surprises Saryu, who reacts in disbelief, but Satone calmly explains the symptoms, leaving both men speechless. The sudden collapse and pale skin are common signs of iron deficiency. Saryu reflects that this condition seems more common in women, but Satone gently points out the spoon-shaped ridges on Vandal's nails. She explains that these are classic signs of anemia. Both men lean closer to examine Vandal's hands. Their surprise is obvious, as she explains the connection. Vandal frowns and admits that his nails do curve strangely. Saryu jokes that the nails match their owner's stubborn personality, which earns him a sharp reply from Vandal. Remaining calm, Satone asks about Vandal's medicine. He says that his doctor once suggested soaking old iron nails in wine and drinking it. This answer makes Saryu wonder whether Vandal is truly being treated properly. Satone then asks about his diet. She recommends pork liver or chicken because they contain iron. Saryu remembers that Vandal has always hated meat. When she asks about fish, Vandal admits he eats a little, but not often. Satone nods and reassures him that even a small amount can help. She suggests dark-fleshed fish like bonito and explains how its iron supports the body. With gentle confidence, she lists ways to prepare fish to reduce the strong smell. Washing it well, soaking it, frying it with herbs, and adding lemon to help the body absorb iron. She also mentions plant-based sources such as spinach, seaweed, soybeans, and other greens. She explains that eating them with vinegar or fruit helps the body absorb nutrients better. Both men are impressed by her detailed knowledge. Vandal admits he always thought anemia only affected women. Saryu firmly reminds him that illness does not care about gender, and pain feels the same for everyone. Satone agrees and encourages Vandal to follow her advice for better health. Saryu looks at her with admiration and jokes that she sounds like a doctor. Satone blushes and quickly denies it, apologizing if she spoke too boldly. Saryu becomes unsure what to think. Curious, he asks if she has medical training. Vandal also wonders if her father might be a court physician, but Satone shakes her head. Saryu hesitates and asks if her advice is truly reliable. Vandal looks thoughtful, clearly hoping her suggestions might improve his condition. Saryu starts to worry that he sounded too blunt. Satone answers calmly. She explains that results can differ for each person, but with the recommended diet, Lord Vandal's condition will likely improve. Vandal studies her for a moment and then asks directly if she's a doctor. She answers no. Still, Vandal says her understanding of medicine is impressive. Suddenly, he turns to Saryu and asks when he plans to bring Satone to visit his territory. Saryu is stunned. Vandal quickly explains that he only wants to know when both Saryu and Satone will be free to visit. Saryu estimates that he needs 5 days to finish his current duties. Vandal calculates that the journey will take 7 days in total. He promises to inform his father and says his household will eagerly wait for their visit. As they part, Vandal calls out cheerfully, saying he looks forward to seeing his dear friends soon.
Hey guys, sorry for mid-editing, but I noticed a lot of you are watching my videos without subscribing. Our subscribe ratio is literally close to 0. I'd really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button. It helps a lot. Thanks. Now, back to the recap.
Saryu slowly realizes that the trip to Count Sheen's territory is now decided. Later, Saryu admits to his older brother that he does not fully understand the reason for the visit. His brother Leonius is certain their father would never allow such a trip. However, both princes are shocked when the king grants permission with a stern, unreadable face. He says he has already heard the matter from Count Sheen. He warns that the situation is confidential, and Saryu will learn the full details only after arriving there. Even with permission from both his father and brother, Ra insists they must travel with proper protection. Eaton steps forward, promising to personally watch over Lady Satone. Saryu informs Satone that along the way local lords will provide lodging. These stops will serve not only as places to rest, but also as formal introductions. After all preparations are complete, they finally depart 20 days after Vandal's visit. Saryu feels relieved when his earlier apology is answered with a simple message. It could not be helped. When they reach their destination, a plump man warmly greets them and says it is a great honor for his lord to host the prince. He is delighted by the grand welcome prepared on the very first day and mentions that many people are hoping for an audience with him. While speaking, he casually asks about Lady Satone. He recalls the incident at the engagement ceremony in the Luminous Kingdom, where the prince supposedly stole her away. Something people said was only natural for the winter bear. Shocked, Saryu chokes on his drink and demands, "What kind of story is that?" The plump man only laughs and replies, "Rumors are often unreliable." Another man steps in and says the truth was very different from what people spread. The plump man agrees and adds that Lady Satone herself is nothing like those stories. Surprised, Saryu asks what kind of rumors were told about her. They explain that people once accused her of being arrogant about her dragon crest, avoiding social circles out of pride, wasting money, and even struggling with foreign languages. Shocked, Siri blurts out, "Who would spread such lies?" The man quickly apologizes for speaking too freely, but the plump lord adds that he should also apologize. He says, "Anyone who has met Lady Satone knows those rumors are false." He then suggests that Prince Arios likely spread them to cut ties with her. In truth, she is fluent in foreign languages and shows no arrogance about her heritage. These words stir Saryu's thoughts. Satone has been away from her homeland for 2 years, speaking mostly foreign languages. How long has it been since she last used her native tongue? He remembers the white veil she wore at the engagement ceremony. It had looked like a cocoon. He wonders if she is still hiding her true self, waiting for the right moment to break free. The conversation soon shifts to newer rumors about Romania's crown princess, Male. The comments are harsh. People claim she knows nothing about politics or society and is unfit for diplomacy. Things became worse when Romania ran out of funds and had to buy jewels from Tanya through foreign merchants. At that time, Male shamelessly begged Tanya's officials to sell jewels for her own wedding instead of for the kingdom. The scandal shifted blame onto Satone, painting her as the villain. Although Male was once admired, her tricks have now been exposed. Another lady adds bitterly that the neighboring crown prince cannot judge character. She recalls how he once told Satone that someone like her, judging only by her looks, could never be his wife. Those words deeply hurt Satone. The woman adds that the prince deserves a little suffering himself. To everyone's surprise, Ra reacts sharply to that remark, startling Eaton and the others. Saryu quickly asks what happened and orders Ra to investigate. Ra checks a glass nearby and says the drink may have gone bad. When Saryu smells it, he immediately realizes the truth. It contains peach. Satone has always had a severe allergy to peaches and apples. Even a small trace can make her throat and face swell and cause a dangerous fever. As she grew older, the condition became so serious that even touching the juice could threaten her life. Saryu had already sent strict orders to every local lord not to serve these fruits. Yet here it was. When asked to confirm, Ross says solemnly that it is indeed peach. Saryu demands to know how it reached Satone's hands. Eaton explains that a butler politely gave it to her, but the princess noticed the scent before drinking it. Saryu rules out any mistake. No other woman in the hall carried the title of princess. That means it was not an accident. Someone deliberately targeted her. Ra advises the captain to stay constantly by her side. As extra protection, he even suggests they share the same room for a while. At those words, Saryu freezes. His mind immediately races to the meaning of sharing a bedroom. Feeling awkward in the shared room, Saryu tells Satone to think of him as if he were air. But Satone gently insists that she is the one intruding. An hour earlier, they had searched for the butler mentioned in Eaton's testimony. But the man who gave Satone the glass had disappeared. Ra concludes that she is clearly being targeted. When others argue that separate bedrooms would be dangerous in case of an attack, they insist that the winter bear of Tedros should remain at her side. Secretly, Saryu thinks that if anyone is dangerous, it might be the winter bear himself. For now, he tells himself that he can endure this situation because they normally sleep apart. He decides to take the sofa, but when he tells Satone, she suddenly protests and says she will sleep there instead. Saryu refuses firmly. No young lady should sleep on a sofa. She argues that she is not that young anymore. He silently thinks that 20 is still young. He reminds himself that he must not touch her. When she suggests they share the bed, he nearly panics. That would be even worse. She teasingly says that her winter bear would never be able to endure it. He promises to stay quietly at the very edge of the bed, though he doubts his own self-control. She gives him the choice, sofa or bed. He quickly realizes that lying together on the sofa would be even riskier, so he chooses to endure on the edge of the bed. In the end, they lie down side by side. Saryu struggles with the urge to look at her. Every small movement she makes feels unbearably cute. She notices his gaze and softly asks if his side of the bed is comfortable. To avoid answering her question, Saryu changes the topic back to the drink from earlier. Satone says it was probably meant for another young lady, and that it is better not to make a fuss. He agrees. Since they still do not know who is behind it, he decides not to tell her the full truth. Instead, he quietly orders the night guards to stay on high alert while he protects her personally from the closest place possible. After a moment, he remembers something. He says he has been thinking since the evening party. When they are alone, he suggests they speak in Tanyon. He admits awkwardly that he only knows simple phrases and cannot use proper polite speech in that language. He explains that since she has spent so much time speaking foreign languages, she must sometimes miss her own tongue. In public, she must speak to Drojan, but in private, she does not need to force herself. Satone looks at him and asks why he has always been kind to her from the beginning. He answers simply, "Since we are to become husband and wife, it is natural for a husband to treat his wife well." His words make her uneasy. He notices her eyes drifting away. Quietly, she asks him to look at her dragon mark. She touches her chest and says it has always been her pride, at least in her homeland, where people respect their culture and history. Saryu replies that it is because she herself loves the Tydros. But Satone admits she has learned that not every country returns kindness with kindness. She gives an example. She hates insects. If someone had insects carved into their body, could a person who hates them ever grow to love that person? She wonders whether Arios hated her dragon scales or the act of carving them. With pain in her voice, she says that if she carries something her partner finds repulsive, he could never truly love her. She begs Saryu to look at her dragon mark and answer honestly. Would he find it disgusting? Would he hate it like Arios did? Her words feel like a test. Saryu understands that she is comparing him to Arios. He wishes she could let go of that shadow. Satone admits she once tried to love and respect Arios as her fiancé, but she cannot forgive his mockery. Her voice trembles as she apologizes for speaking too much. Saryu feels guilty for not understanding her pain sooner. She explains that rejection from strangers does not matter, but rejection from him would wound her deeply. She says again that she does not know if Arios hated the scales or the carving, but she fears her future husband will always see her as something unpleasant. She begs him once more to look at her dragon mark and tell the truth. Saryu feels frustrated inside. He wants her to stop comparing him to Arios. He reminds himself that he is the one standing before her now, not the ghost of her past. Satone continues, her pain spilling out. She says that if he finds it disgusting, she will give up on him immediately. She will still go through with the marriage, for the sake of their countries, but she will cut off her feelings and live like a doll. Tense but determined, Saryu agrees to look at it. Inside he is nervous, but his desire to accept her completely is stronger. When Satone lowers her hand and reveals the dragon mark carved across her chest, Saryu is not afraid. He is struck by how beautiful it is. He quietly asks, "Did Arios ever see it?" Satone replies that she offered to show him first, but he refused. Saryu is stunned. He silently calls Arios a fool for judging without even looking and for hurting Satone in the process. His eyes linger on the mark. Without thinking, his hand moves forward. Her skin is warm and soft beneath his fingers. The sudden contact shocks him. He quickly pulls back, his face burning red, while Satone quietly watches him. Tension fills the room. Feeling frustrated with his own lack of control, Saryu gently tells her to keep a little distance. Saryu mutters an apology, embarrassed that his feelings were so obvious. Satone gently apologizes as well for overreacting. She quietly asks if her dragon mark was disgusting. He immediately blurts out that it is the opposite. The space between them feels heavy, as if one more step closer would break his self-control. His voice trembles as he asks if she hates him. She answers gently, warmth in her voice. Relief floods through him, and his chest tightens with gratitude. His eyes sting with tears because it feels unfair. She is so kind. Their feelings seem mutual, yet doubt still holds him back. The weight of identity and duty presses on him. It feels like a test he must endure. Satone notices his unease and grows worried. He forces a weak smile and promises, though not very confidently, that he will stay on his side of the bed. He tells her to sleep first and avoids looking at her. To clear his thoughts, he decides to recite an old poem from his school days. But before he can begin, Satone moves to the edge of the bed. She gently places her hand over his head and softly chants a poem once used to chase away pain. He thanks her quietly. Then he wonders to himself, is she a goddess or a demon? On the third day of travel, the group stops at a roadside cafe. Rahul and his men carefully watch Saryu, worried that he might be tired. Saryu reflects that since that restless night, he has been sharing a bed with Satone every evening. He struggles to control his feelings, especially when he remembers her holding his hand under the moonlight. Rahul suggests that Saryu rest upstairs, while Satone enjoys the courtyard. He promises to guard the place, but Saryu refuses. He cannot rest while his men are still on duty. When he notices Satone is not nearby, Rahul points toward the courtyard with a small smile. Saryu takes a cup of coffee and steps outside, finding her there. He watches her silently. Rahul quietly encourages him to go closer. After days of constant travel and meetings with local lords, Saryu wants Satone to enjoy her tea and sweets in peace. He tries to keep her circle small so she can rest. At night, sharing a room allows her the comfort of speaking her native language. Even when her silence shows she wants to be alone, he respects her space. In the courtyard, a butler approaches with a tray. Saryu immediately asks about peaches and apples. Rahul reassures him that the staff has already been warned. But Saryu notices the shine of a knife hidden among the dishes. Instinct takes over. He shouts a warning and rushes forward, pushing Satone out of harm's way just as the man attacks. The stranger swings wildly with both blades. Saryu meets the attacks calmly, dodging and stepping aside with steady movements. Roel prepares to step in, but Saryu signals him to stay back. Watching carefully, Saryu finds the man's weakness. At the right moment, he strikes, throws him down, and pins him to the ground. He asks for a rope, and they quickly bind the attacker. Rahul tells him they will handle the rest and urges him to check on Lady Satone. The moment he turns, Satone runs to him and hugs him tightly. Saryu pulls her close, feeling her trembling, yet her only concern is for him. He brushes it off calmly and says he is called the Winter Bear for a reason. He orders the second floor of the cafe to be secured and commands that they continue toward Vandal's territory without delay. Some men are left behind to investigate. When he calls Eaton forward, her legs give way from shock. Saryu carries Satone into the carriage himself. She whispers that she is glad he is safe, still thinking about him instead of herself. He smiles faintly, struck by the feeling that she is the one protecting him. He promises that neither of them will fall, not while she is in his arms. She softly asks again if he is truly safe, if he will survive. He answers firmly that he will not die, and neither will she. As long as they stay together, nothing can harm them. The knights echo his words, telling Princess Satone to rest easy. No one can hurt her now. This is the safest place. Saryu seals that promise in silence, vowing that as long as he stands by her side, no harm will ever reach her.
Please! Subscribe.
I need this! My mom is kind of homeless.